Hello. What's up, guys? Just working on my college school, university, road to a associates towards photography. Just gotta get to my online class to get stuff done, son. What's up, Artie? Yeah, so far so good. I have got. I'm running my. Turn my music down a little. There we go. Maybe 3%. Alright, let's see. What do I got going on? Let's hide that other screen. Just so you can kind of see. So here's overall. So far, so good. CPUs. Doing okay. So far, CPU looks good. Memory. But so far, I'm not doing anything. I think it's when I use FiveM and FiveM kills my PC, maybe? Is that what's going on? We'll see in a second. But I think schoolwork I'm doing generally fine. Got my haircut, makes me look nice and younger. I like it. Every time I get a haircut, I feel like I'm 10 years younger. So it looks like I am using my GPU to decode, or not, it's copy, huh? Not decode. Copy, VR, video processing, nothing, okay. Oh, no, I was just saying, I don't even remember what I was saying. I think it does it when I, FiveM. So far with school work, it's not too bad. I'm not having issues at the moment. %, sometimes my GPU. Streamlabs. Why does there end up 20 Streamlabs in the background? They're just running different processes, I guess. Yeah. Alright, this is module 3.1. All your overlays and stuff? Oh, yeah. I get it. That makes sense too, because yeah, it's all movies, MP4 or whatever they converted it to. Yeah. Yeah, no, just a lot going on with it, so I can see process for all those. Let's take that. Let's go ahead and edit my transform. Let's take a little bit off the top. Go back to that. Let's adjust that. Alright, just working on some homework so I can get in some gaming here in a bit. I do have to teach a ACLS class. I got someone coming to the house, advanced cardiac life support. So it's kind of like the health providers, so paramedics, doctors, nurses, that level of CPR class, which involve more than just normal CPR. So like drugs pushing and stuff like that, medications. Alright. So what am I? I'm doing school 3.1. Let's just rename my folder. Module 3.1. We're gonna do photo 1. All metadata. Is it resizing? JPEG there, put it long edge, okay, resize 2000 pixels, resolution 72. $300 DPI, I've got a 72. So maybe pick submission, 72 DPI, blah, blah, okay. Yep, 72. JPEG, let's go to, we'll change that there. File size, long edge, sharpen, oh, but I don't want to do that. Okay, do nothing. I think we're set. Thing, so folder, good. Export. Alright, cool. So that photo is now exporting it. Alright, next one. So bracketed image 637. Alright, cool. 7.1. It's gonna be the main one. So what I am doing here is the assignment for photography was to take an image, find a subject, which I got pretty much this thing here, as you can tell by the blur or the focus, that my thing, but 3 identical images, just different apertures, so that way showing how adjusting the shutter speed will or keeping the shutter speed the same, but adjusting, going like a bracket exposure, doing 3 photos of series of regular exposure, one that's overexposed, one that's underexposed, +1, -1. So I'm just showing that. Alright, so this would be photo number 2. It's got to have metadata, so I can have that. Boom. Okay. Now let's go to 8.0. We did 6, that, so let's do 8. Do +1. Export. Boom. Now I gotta do a contact sheet. Let's go back to here. Sixteen selected. Let's do a print. We want to print a contact sheet. There we go. Yeah, rotate to fill. Margins. Print to file. Do contact sheet. 3, 1, 4. Cool. Now let us go over to here. Let's take a look. I'm going to the net. Three one exposures, bracket exposures. Okay. Full assignment in the series. Choose series. Yeah, when I was on, make sure to lose the thing. Set the exposure. Camera shutter. In your posts, list the settings used aperture. Actually, which one shows best exposure. Bracket exposures. Alright, caption number 1. So we're going to do ISO 100. Did 8, 7.1, 6.3. It's going to be 8.0. Image is going to be 6.3. 7.1. For this shoot, use so 6.1. Up and down in aperture. And distance. My object. Did I do 100? That's my question. Yes, I said 100. Okay. Choose a focal length greater than 55. What did I use my focal length on? Okay, I'm gonna have to reshoot this later. No worries. The problem is she moved too much. When we first started taking the photos, the shadows, and using the whiteboard a little bit more for lighting. I love her. She's got so much attitude. Like, are you done yet? Okay, so today I've got to shoot my objects. Do a focal length greater than change your shutter speed one stop. What up? How's it going? Good morning. Auntie Edna in the house. Yeah. Auntie Edna will be on a little bit later. Trying to get some of this college stuff going. I went back to school to, just because, trying to get my degree in photography, which never plan on using, but I'm just using it to use up my GI Bill. Green haired guy, and yes, took a wild amble. Yeah, man, that was pretty trippy. Yeah, it's just probably a little bit lag on one side or another, or something happened. But it was just funny. Going for the ride of my life. Well, welcome back to the stream. Yeah, I'll probably be hopping on. I like it. Royalty's not bad. We got a bunch of people that are on there, so we kind of slowly moving over. No worries, man. I was getting some lag too on my own. Yeah. Now we moving over to the city. We used to run our own city, and we'd have a bunch of people We just made the decision with Dystopia to shut it down, or the FiveM server side of it, because we've had it running for 2 years and we've made good following, but the time for me to run it as an owner and then one of my co-owners, we just the financial and the time involved, it just kind of went took too much, especially with me going back to school and him starting a new job, and I already have a full-time job, and it got to a point where let's have more fun going to a city that's already established, and instead of just trying to run a city. So we just kind of slowly migrated. We had a few guys that went over there already, and then we just kind of followed them with some of our people, so we can stay together and play. So you'll see more of us. I think you got probably like at least 10 people that are moved over, and are a few more trying to get in. Because we all enjoy playing together. It was just the logistics of running a FiveM server. It was just so much time and effort involved, and so many people dedicating, donating their time and volunteering, and it's just easier to let someone else do it. So we're over at Royalty. So Auntie Edna moved in last night. She's still trying to figure the way the city runs as far as getting licenses, doing all that stuff. So just going through and getting your thing, and then you'll see more of us. Debating whether to create a second character though. Don't know what I want to do though. I mean, Auntie Edna I want her to be my primary, but the one thing I liked about when I had Auntie Edna was playing her in our city and other cities was just the fact that the ped you can choose, the FiveM peds. So I picked one, an old lady, this old black lady that I had on there, but then here, you can't use the ped, so you have to create, and it's hard to create an old lady with the skins that we have there on Royalty there. So I was like, Auntie Edna, it works, but it doesn't work. Because other than me being the voice, it's the look of the old lady that sells it, And that's hard. Looking young and trying to be old. So it doesn't really portray an old person when you first meet Edna. So gotta improve my old lady voice to anything's an improvement with that voice. It's not even an old lady. I'm just making like a little scratchy and whiny. But we'll get there. Alright. Let's see. Okay, so change your aperture speed. Okay, so we recommend using a focal length of 55. So I'm gonna have to go reshoot this scenario. Probably not now. Oh, I might be able to get it now because the light is low enough to where it might be a good time. Otherwise, I have to wait for the afternoon because I don't want the light completely overhead. Where is my shoots? This one. Got to reshoot these. So I have to shoot a series of 4 objects. So series shoot a scene, 4 objects side by side. I think and then you're adjusting the exposure, changing the aperture and the shutter speed. That way it matches the exposure. So I think by doing that, it should stay the same exposure, which it kind of does. If you look at the difference between the two, exposure's the same. Just the depth of field would change because you are changing. But you can see how certain things get. But because of the focal length, it's not greater than 55. It's probably what the issue is. So I am going to reshoot something similar later today. So like I said, I do have a class to teach at 12 to 2 wife's co-workers coming to the house to learn some ACLS, and then I will be free to do all the photography stuff and then FiveM. Okay, so that part is gonna wait. Let's go to my outline. Got that critique. I can critique someone though. Critique. Following critique. So show this focal length. Critique. What are we critiquing? Module 2, shooting with motion. Okay. Alright, module 2, shooting with motion. Next time you're in the city, go to the barbershop and I can show you the face and wrinkle stuff. Okay, cool. An old man character, and it took a minute to make him look old, but yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'll take you up on that. I messed with the aging slide bar, and I was like, and opacity, and I got a little bit of wrinkles, but just not much. But I got to find that right combination. That'll definitely help. This subject that we chose for motion blur. I personally have a thing for this here in Washington. We don't have much of a train system, and so every year when I go to Paris and or sometimes London, I thoroughly enjoy taking the metro and tube. I've always wanted to create this type of photo with my iPhone and never figured out how. And now with the tools and knowledge from this class, I feel like I can recreate something similar. I got a low spell check. Best thing ever. I love how your photo, despite the subject, still tells a narrative. what you did. Alright. Okay. Eagle Thorn is what I did. Okay. Notepad. Alright, let's find another. Let's see. All right, let's go to all right, outline there. Let's go to related topic. All right, so I got one more subject. I need to go to 115. Let's see. We could do. That's that hard window light, soft window light. So that's, we can do this. I wonder if I can submit this one as hard window light and then use that one as soft window light. So I might be able to get away with a soft window light on that. Oh, but soft window light, I think I need a fill. Tips and tricks only. Shall only begin the assignment by reading description and found in the assignment. Okay. To correct, you can. Window light can provide beautiful diffuse light on subject. Okay. The bright light coming in from window can make meeting your image from behind. The meter in your camera takes an average of light in the entire image and creates exposure from the average. Problem with that is bright lights come in from the window of your camera and it's averaging, seeing a lot of light. You might underexpose. Here's a few tips to do with this. Move your subject closer. Move closer to your subject. Take the meter reading with the just subject filling your frame. Then you can move back and take the image at the metered reading that you had. Okay. Exposing for the subject. Okay. If you're still having difficulties, take the window out of your image. We're this bright idea, you're able to have a more evenly lit image, therefore your metering will be more accurate. Okay. Does not have to be in the photography. Ah, okay, okay. Another tool is to use a reflector. Alright, so let's go to, I might be able to, I think I want to keep that, we'll see. Then I've got, I love her. She's so, she's like, hey. So I gotta do one overhead. Yeah, well, this thing's overhead and the sun's overhead, okay. Image one, this will use sunlight. The condition generally occurs when the sun is above one side of the building. This one's more, that was more of a hard image. So I'll keep this. This works for hard light because the okay, image will utilize soft. Occurs when the sun is above. So I need to do soft light when the sun is directly above or on the opposite of the building. Okay. This one is with it down there. Alright, cool. So it's only got left. And then a quiz. So let's start diffusing light.
Hard light comes from one specific point, traveling in a straight line. The light is small relative to the size of a subject, yet it is bright. The sun is a hard light source, as it is a small, bright point of light above. It also reveals its direction cleanly. A table light can be a hard light source as well. Hard light is great for building drama in a scene and emphasizing shape and depth. Deep, defined shadows are characteristics of harder light. Generally, hard light is used to illustrate an idea or concept. It does not create a good likeness of a person. In other words, hard light is best for transforming a scene. In Kamaitachi number 32, Eiko Hosoe uses hard light to emphasize the texture of the subject's skin and to exaggerate the subject's age. The light enhances the concept, creating dark and defined shadows and showing evidence of hardship experienced in early to mid-20th century Japan. In famed documentary photographer W. Eugene Smith's photo, Guardia Civil, hard light illuminates the scene from the left. Deep shadows appear on the opposite side of the guards' faces. In this photograph, strong side lighting is as much a subject as the three guards. Would this image be as powerful if it were instead lit by a diffuse source? Why might the characteristics of hard light be appropriate for this particular subject? This image by Bishin Jumonji, from the Tatsumi Hijikata and Kazuo Ono series, is a portrait that features high contrast and side light, or split light as it is sometimes called, to add more drama. Broadly, it's important that you make connections between the intensity of a light source and the effect this creates. Look through one of your favorite magazines. Start identifying soft and hard light. Pay close attention to when each is used and for what purpose.
Okay.
Diffuse light is a source with a broad area relative to the subject. It is soft and forgiving and creates less contrast than hard light. Diffuse light often makes it easier to achieve a good exposure for both highlighted and shadowy areas, as there is only a slight difference between the intensity of the two. Diffuse light is either filtered through or bounced off another surface before hitting the subject. Open shade is one source of diffuse light. Other examples include light filtered through a high canopy of leaves, the shady side of a building, or the shelter of a doorway. Environmental circumstances like clouds, fog, dust, smoke, and smog can yield varying degrees of diffuse light, each serving to block or bounce the sun's rays. Window light may also provide very soft light, depending on the direction of the sun or how dirty the glass is.
I totally did not catch any of that. Wasn't paying attention. I'm gonna miss it on the quiz. It's a good thing I just can go back on the quiz. And,
Diffuse light is a source with a broad area relative to the subject. It is soft and forgiving and creates less contrast than hard light. Diffuse light often makes it easier to achieve a good exposure for both highlighted and shadowy areas, as there is only a slight difference between the intensity of the two. Diffuse light is either filtered through or bounced off another surface before hitting the subject. Open shade is one source of diffuse light. Other examples include light filtered through a high canopy of leaves, the shady side of a building, or the shelter of a doorway. Environmental circumstances like clouds, fog, dust, smoke, and smog can yield varying degrees of diffuse light, each serving to block or bounce the sun's rays. Window light may also provide very soft light, depending on the direction of the sun or how dirty the glass is.
Diffused.
Contrast is the relationship between highlights and shadows. In a photo with high contrast, you will find a relatively narrow range of tones and often less information or visible detail in those tones. Greater contrast in a photo often involves deeper shadows and lighter highlights. In an image with low contrast, you will find a greater distance, or more relative tonal values, between highlights and shadows. Low contrast images will often have more information and detail, an important consideration when thinking through your goals for a photo. There are many ways to control natural light either locally or in a condensed physical space. The simplest way is to select an appropriate shooting location. For example, when creating a portrait, you could use diffuse light, such as open shade in a thick forest of trees or under a covered porch, to achieve less contrast. Alternatively, you could use the attributes of direct sunlight in a midday situation to create a lot of contrast, and for dramatic effect, distort the subject's appearance. You could also apply a variety of tools, which we will discuss later, to modify light. An experienced photographer will use contrast to simplify or create separation between the subject and the background. Contrast can create or minimize depth. For example, you can use a higher level of contrast to create a strong three-dimensional feel in a landscape that is, by the nature of the photographic medium, depicted in 2 dimensions.
Diffuse size comes from one specific point, such as sun.
In order to take full advantage of natural light, you should be keenly aware of the influence that time of day or even the weather can have on an image. Photographers often refer to the light of the early morning or early evening as the magic hour. These are the hours just after sunrise and just before sunset. As you learn to read the sun's trajectory, you will discover that these hours are longer in the summer than in the winter, for the simple reason that the days are longer in the summer. Early morning and late afternoon light creates more depth and layers in a scene because the sun is at a lower angle in relation to the subject. The separation between the foreground, middle ground, and background elements is more apparent. Many landscape photographers aim to convey a strong three-dimensional feel in a two-dimensional photograph, and magic hour light can help them achieve this. The separation of tones in the scene divides the subject into pieces and parts, helping to bring balance through spatial relationships. Search for landscape images in magazines and calendars, and you will see in many the dramatic light achieved in early morning hours. Morning light is at a lower angle, creates longer shadows, and lends a warmer color than that found in the middle of the day. You will not find many landscape images made in midday light, which shines from overhead and results in washed-out images that lack visual depth. Such shortcomings are not always present at midday, but if you pay close attention to the thousands of images you encounter daily, you will likely notice trends regarding the types of light used. Wait for the right light. This tactic is the best option if time is on your side. For an important shot, scout out the scene at different times of the day to determine the type of light that will yield the image you have in mind. If you are only at a location for a limited time, study the trajectory of the sun and guess how the light might appear a few hours later. If you know that a storm is due to pass through the area, plan to be at a scenic spot when the clouds finally begin to break and let light through. As you probably know already, clearing storms often produce some of the most dramatic lighting and atmospheric effects. Notice how the time of day in the landscape shown here creates 2 very different images. Knowing how the light will affect your subject, and then waiting for it, is one of the most useful concepts to learn as a photographer. Many apps are available to help you understand the path of the light. The photographer's ephemeris is one that has stood the test of time. Landscape photographers generally pay close attention to shifts in weather and the angle of the sun, although they cannot do much to modify either. This situation is distinct from the one encountered by portrait photographers who use natural light on location. These portrait photographers can use modification techniques to diffuse, reflect, subtract, and even change the color of natural light. Modification allows photographers greater control over the quality of light and contrast.
Magic hour. Since you're a portrait photographer and you have been hired to shoot a photograph that shows warm light on an intimate mother-daughter portrait. Based on what you know about the qualities of light in different times of the day, when would you shoot this photograph? Early morning, 1 hour after sunrise, nope. High noon, 1 hour before near sunset. Before sunset. Oh, near sunset. I was gonna do that one. Fuck you, yo. I changed my answer.
The direction of light also plays an important role in the success of your photos. Front, side, and back light can each have a wide range of effects. Front light often limits the feeling of depth by minimizing the distance relationships between foreground and background and eliminating shadows that would otherwise give a sense of dimension. Many describe front light as flat, as in the subject is flattened to the background. This should not be confused with flatness as it relates to contrast when it signifies a lack of tonal range. Side light is quite effective at sculpting a subject, throwing long shadows, bringing out details, and adding a powerful flare. Backlight often creates the most depth and drama, with the light coming directly toward the camera, separating the subject from the background or creating the appearance of layers or three-dimensionality in a scene. In Rue Laurent Savart, photographed in 1949 by Willy Ronis, backlight throws long shadows toward the camera and portrays people more as symbolic shapes than individuals. In this image of a glazier carrying a window on a French street, the absence of light falling on him from the front renders him as a silhouette. The strong low backlighting also illuminates the texture of the cobblestone street effectively. In George Hoyningen-Hune's 1930 photograph Bathing Suits A.J. Izod Limited, an early fashion photo of swimmers, hard light comes from one side of the image while the even gray tones of the sky and sea behind the couple soften the scene. The photo has all the traits of an image with harsh side light, including bright highlights on the arms and legs and deep shadows. Nevertheless, the image seems soft. Perhaps it is the relaxed nature of the scene as the subjects gaze out to sea. The viewer's distance from the subjects also creates a relaxed feel. A close-up and partially cropped composition might have had more tension. The direction of light can also be used to slim a face or make a face look fuller. For example, if your subject has a round face, you can use side lighting to give the perception that the subject's face is not as round. For a thin face you'd like to make a little fuller, you could use more frontal light. The best approach is to try many different combinations to see what you like and in which situations. Lighting a subject from above or below is seldom used, as the effects are less flattering. Nonetheless, this approach has its uses. Lighting a subject from above may reference police questioning, interrogation, or even the sun at midday. Lighting from below may conjure the feeling of ghost stories told around a campfire, with the story's narrator holding a flashlight under the chin for eerie effect. You can also play with how the relationship changes when your subject is facing away from or into the light, rather than facing the camera. The subjects in these images peer out of the frame. They face away from or at an angle to the camera, providing an additional variation to the effects of directional lighting. In the image by Phil Toledano, the subject is lit from the left and slightly behind, resulting in a bright contour that lines his profile and catches his emotion. In a given shooting situation, whatever the light source or its direction, you will generally have a way to modify the lighting to get better results. For example, with hard or directional light, you can use a diffusion material to create soft light. Where the shadows are too deep, you can use the flash on fill mode to add some extra light to the scene. You can also bounce light off a white card or a collapsible photoreflector to illuminate part of your scene. Keep in mind when you begin modifying light that reflected light will take on the color of the reflective surface. For example, a red barn will reflect red light. A collapsible reflector is handy to have in your camera bag. Many photographers carry a small one with a white side and a gold side to pull off shots that would not otherwise be possible. A small reflector enables a photographer to reflect light onto flowers, for example. A larger reflector, that is, a professional reflector or a white piece of foam core, is a great tool for portraits in sunlight or in open shade. The reflected light can fill shadows and decrease contrast. This light is often referred to as bounce light, since it is bounced into a specific area. The catch light, a reflection of the reflector in the eye of your subject, can be a nice addition to a photograph. Diffusion material, which you can apply to hard light to produce soft light, comes in many shapes and sizes. While professional tools are marketed for this exact use, any material that softens light can be used. In the example shown here, a diffusion flat is applied to midday light. Notice how harsh the light is on the subject holding the diffusion flat. Compare this to the subject where the light is filtered by the diffusion flat. The diffusion material decreases the amount of contrast to produce a softer, more pleasing light. An artificial light in the form of fill flash can also be used to even out the contrast in a scene. The added flash illuminates deep shadows and allows for more information on the subjects. Fill flash is often used for outdoor portraits, newspaper photographs, or magazine images for which a greater amount of information is required.
Hi there. This video is going to talk about filling shadow detail. So we have Omari here, typical window light situation. We have our window over here, lights coming across Omari's face, and you'll notice there's a pretty dark shadow side right here. Really nice light on this side of his face, but this side we're in pretty good shadow. So what we want to do, we're just going to use a simple white card to add a little fill to his face. Now the key to this working is the light has to hit the card and then bounce right back into his face, which is angle of incidence equals angle of reflection. So as I move the card in, you can definitely see what happens right by his ear back here. Gets a lot brighter. I move it back a little bit darker. So we're looking at ratios of light. Very hard ratio right now, light to dark. As the card comes in, evens out the ratio. So we have some choices. Do we want it a little bit of a ratio? Do we want it really very small, almost a 1-to-1? I can also fill underneath his chin a little bit here, bring it up. Now we don't want to be in front of the camera, but we have definitely some options. If I take it all the way away, real hard light from side to side, simple card comes in, it fills it. So when working with window light, real simple white card does a really nice job filling our shadows. Hi everyone, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about skin tones and ambient light. So we have our wonderful two models here right now, and we're in a situation that has continuous lighting, and you'll notice that the lighting going across our two models is pretty much perfectly equal. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some pictures with our Canon camera. Now this has a reflective meter reading, and that means that it's going to take a meter reading, light falling on the subject is going to come back into the camera, and that's how it's going to take its meter reading. Now, something about reflective meters. They actually think that the world is 18% gray. So if I take a picture of something that's really dark, it tries to make it neutral gray. If I take a picture, let's say snow, really bright white, it also tries to make it neutral gray. So whether it's a scenic or two different models, everything's going to try to be gray with a camera like this and this kind of a reflective meter. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera on, set to ISO 400. And I'm just going to zoom in just so I get Omari's face. And what it shows me is at f4, I'm at a 60th of a second. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing to Whitney. Now I don't want to get any of the extra space around her, so I'm going to zoom in right to her face. And at f4, I'm at 160th of a second. So pretty big different exposure. Equal lighting right now with the two exposures. So I've already taken a couple photographs of these two, and you can see the different results. They're not exactly accurate. Okay, so I have another option for you for metering, and here in my pocket I have an incident light meter. And what this does, instead of like the camera meeting light reflecting off our subject, it's actually going to be light falling on our subject. So it doesn't matter if we're in snow, in a dark alley, light skin, dark skin, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to take my meter, same settings as the camera for ISO, go right in front of Amari here, and it shows me f4.5, 30th of a second, and in front of Whitney, the exact same exposure. So I want to take a couple pictures of both of them at that exposure, and you'll notice it was a little different than the camera. So if you don't happen to have an incident light meter, we have another option for you. So I'm going to put that away. I'm going to grab a gray card that I have behind Whitney. I'm going to have Whitney hold this up in front of her face. Now, I had mentioned earlier that the in-camera meter, reflective meter, takes a meter reading off of something, but it also tries to make the world 18% gray. So we have a gray card here, which is nice. I'm just going to take a meter reading, no photograph, and I'm going to go ahead and put that down, Whitney. Now, I want to take those exact settings, which is f4.5 at a 30th of a second. I'm on manual. Dial that in. I can just step back and take some photos of my subjects with those.
Might need to get a gray card. That'll be a lot cheaper than a meter.
Aaron Siskind is our featured photographer for this module. The following biographical information comes from the Aaron Siskind Foundation and the book Callahan, Siskind, Summer, At the Crossroads of American Photography by Keith F. Davis and Britt Salveson. Aaron Siskind was an American abstract expressionist photographer. In his biography, he wrote that he began his foray into photography when he received a camera for a wedding gift and began taking pictures on his honeymoon. He quickly realized the artistic potential this offered. He originally was a grade school English teacher in New York's public school system and worked in both New York City and Chicago. Siskind's work focused on the details of nature and architecture. He presented them as flat surfaces to create new images that, for him, stood independent of the original subject. Early in his career, Siskind was a member of the New York Photo League. The overly doctrinaire communist atmosphere that developed in the organization drove him away for a time, but he was persuaded to return and head the documentary group. Working with that group, Siskind produced several significant socially conscious series of images in the 1930s. Among them, the Harlem document remains the most famous. In 1950, Siskind met Harry Callahan when both were teaching at Black Mountain College in the summer. Later, Callahan persuaded Siskind to join him as part of the faculty of the IIT Institute of Design in Chicago that had been founded by Laszlo Moholy-Nagy as the new Bauhaus. In 1971, he followed Callahan, who had left in 1961, to teach for the rest of his life at the Rhode Island School of Design.
That's so true. Wait, what's true? What I said earlier? That's why I haven't been entirely single. Oh my god. Looks like I'm chilling in the house. Where to me? Literally. Like, I didn't see anything wrong. Have a blessed day. I hope you have a blessed day, love. Thank you so much. Is that a nightlight hanging on your wall? No, it used to light up, but I
Alright, let's take the quiz. You will use a reflector to soften diffusion flat. You will use a diffusion flat to soften hard light. Diffusion flat. Is that what it's called? I know it's diffuser, but diffusion flat? Reflector. Let's see. I believe it's a diffuser, but no, I don't want it on a flag. You will use a blank to soften hard light on your subject. Reflector, reflector's gonna fill. It's gotta be diffusion, but why is diffusion flat? I don't recognize that term. Look at diffusion flat. Hi, baby.
Hi.
Good morning.
Morning. I love you.
What's that?
I love you.
I love you too. Do you need to go potty? You want to come see your picture I took from yesterday?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do, but I didn't know if you already took it.
What's that?
But I didn't know if you already took it. I like it.
You like it?
You were taking the pictures of the ocean when it was ocean source, because it.
No, this is from yesterday when you were sitting at the window.
Yeah, but I was talking about because you were taking in pictures of the ocean when we were at ocean source.
Oh, yeah.
But because it was standing still.
Mm-hmm.
And you had, but when I was running, we will keep running, but it was just doing like that. And
Yeah, because we're different layers in the sea.
but we had to stop when you were gonna take the pixel.
P-A-N-B.
So that's why you took a picture of the ocean at ocean source.
Mm-hmm. The main distinction is in intensity is between the main distinction in intensity is between hard and soft, natural, and intensity hard and diffused. Whichever light flattens your subject in the background.
Daddy?
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too, baby. Blank light is relative to the size of subject from one specific point. Reflectors are used exclusively for reflectors. She's so loud in the toilet, huh?
Yeah.
Esme is. It's like in there making a mess.
Yeah.
Okay.
This scratching
Mm-hmm.
on the sides.
not the flowers. No. So yeah. Okay.
I'm just gonna scoot up a little bit.
I'm just doing my test. So, all right. Reflectors used. False, because that is. Lean back so I can see. Okay. Midway sun. Say midway sun on a clear day. Midday sun on a clear day has high contrast. Yeah, babe?
You're the best.
Hmm?
You're the best.
I'm the best? You're the best.
Don't tell mommy when he comes home at night.
Okay, I won't tell mommy. It's our secret. We can let mommy think she's the best, but we know that I'm the best.
Just like gonna attend mommy's the best, but but your girls are gonna be the best.
Oh, that's nice of you. It's okay. We can both be the best.
Okay.
We're the best parents. We're the best mommy and daddy. Because I can't be the best mommy, but I can be the best daddy. And mommy's the best mommy. As we share. An experienced photographer will use contrast and create separation between the subject and...
How are you so warm? Daddy, how are you so warm?
I'm warm because I'm always warm. You can use the... Okay, a lot of contrast, yep. All light can be classified according to... All light can be classified... Categories of light. Source intensity and direction. Okay. You can most dramatically make a face look fuller or slimmer. The direction of the light. If you want to make an image that is informal, informational, you should use if you want to make an image that informational, you should use Okay, if you want, go ahead. I love you. I gotta go for a little bit to take for Gigi. I gotta go take her prescription to the store and pick it up for her, and then I'll be back.
That's what I was going to read because
Okay.
we both thought you were going to do it, but you just told me so.
Yeah. Few stoplight. Okay. You will use diffusion flat. That's a good word. Flat. To soften her light. Highlight source has great building. Okay, let's go look at soft light, diffuse light. Oh, might be reflector. Modified light. With hard or dark light, you can use a diffusion material to create soft light. Where the shadows are cheap, you can use the flash to fill. Manufacturers carry one. Start to reflect light onto flowers. For example, large pictures. Indicated portrait light century over. Can fill shadows and increase the light. Diffusion material which can apply to hard light to produce soft light. A diffusion flat applied to midlay. Okay, yes. Diffusion flat, A and C, front, reflector. Let's just submit it and go. Let's go, 10. Alright. Good. Oh, I gotta refill. Okay.
Okay, you guys, we're looking at Ray's bracket, and he used f-stops to change. And Ray, you need to shoot this again, but I think you understand this. You're right on the right track. You did something very similar to Miko in that you use 1/3 stops as opposed to one stop. So let's dig into this just a little bit because, again, Ray understands this, but let's make sure he understands at 110%, right? So let's go to his middle image, or his lightest image. Let's go to his first image. He's at a 1/13 of a second shutter speed at f6.3, and then he's going to stop down. He's going to keep the shutter speed the same at a 1/13 for all three images. Oh, and by the way, he's at ISO 100 for all three images. All good. So he's at 6.3. Let's start with his first image, and then he goes to 7.1. That's 1/3 stop change. And then he continues to go to f8 from there. That's another third stop. So if you look at his three images, they're brackets. And I think he understands this, but they're only a third stop. So if he were to do this again, which he will, he'll reshoot this and he'll totally nail it. It won't take him any time at all. Let's start with the image that I'm on right now, which is f8. And the reason that I'm starting at f8 is because it's a little bit more intuitive. I don't know if intuitive is the right word. It's a little more streamlined in that f8 is more of a traditional aperture. And somebody asked me about that last night. They sent me an email and said, what do you mean by that? Which is a good question. And what I mean is a lot of lenses, like I don't know about Ray's, But a lot of lenses, if you look at the top of the lens, it'll have apertures listed. And if it does, and a lot of you guys might not have that, okay? But if you do, what apertures will be listed? f8, f11, f16, f22, f5.6, f4. So when I say traditional apertures, that's what I mean. You see them all the time. Like you always hear about f8. Do you see f6.3? No, because it's a third stop. And that's what brings in a little bit of confusion. You know, there's another faculty that used to teach this class, and she was always very keen on having people only use traditional f-stops. But it's not that simple, because what if your scene doesn't lend itself to that, right? So anyway, let's stay with Ray, and let's stay with f8. So if he was going to do this again, using aperture, let's just stay with what he's doing. Using f8 as our beginning image. He wanted to stop down one stop from f8, it'd be f11. He wanted to open up one stop from f8, it'd be 5.6. And so let me do that again. f8, let's just say that was our normal, let's just say. Stopping down one stop from f8 would be f11. Opening up one stop from f8 would be 5.6. f8, f11, f5.6. Those are one-stop changes, not third stop. Okay, I'm feeling pretty confident that Ray's going to hear this and be like, oh, okay, thanks for telling me. I got it. And Ray was also part of the inspiration with Miko, and I made a larger audio file, and I found a graph that I'll post in the instructor office that, I don't know, might help. You know, when you have graphs, like sometimes it just looks like gobbledygook and it doesn't help people. But if it only even helps one person, it would be worth doing. Because for a lot of us, this whole aperture and shutter speed, and like Ray, got f6.3, that's confusing. f7.1, like what does f8 even mean, right? And why is it one stop difference from f11? Like, explain that to me. So anyway, I'll put a graph in that highlights apertures, shutter speeds, and it's got kind of a cool graphic on ISO as well. So take a look at that if you're listening to this and you're reshooting or trying to figure this out. But back to Ray, his series is actually correct. We just want him to use one stop changes and not third stops. He will reshoot this. He will nail it. It's all good. You guys are doing great with this assignment. Keep up the good work.
All right. I got some feedback on my post. I just got to make a few adjustments, and then we will be good. I got to go run some errands. I'll come back and work on those photos, and then we'll be done. Assignments, new post, module. Window light critique. I got an F because I didn't do it, but I got to do window light. So all I have left is window light. Let's see what my grade has changed to since I got a good Still okay. B plus though because of that. That F killed me. Okay, cool. Now let me just see what his discussion was. Instructor. Alright. Shutter apertures. 32. So 8, 5.6, 411, 8, 5.6. Okay. Cool. We'll work on that. 1.4, 2, 2.8. edit.